Imagine it is the year 1250. The sky outside is still dark. The sun has not even begun to rise over the hills. Most of the world is asleep. The village below the castle is quiet. The fields are covered in morning mist. Somewhere in the distance, an owl is finishing its night shift. But for you, the day is already beginning. You are a knight. And unlike modern people, you cannot hit the snooze button 5 times before getting out of bed. In fact, you do not even have a clock. Your bedroom is inside a stone castle. It is not the giant luxury palace that movies sometimes show. It is strong, cold, and built more for defense than comfort. Thick stone walls surround you on all sides. A small window lets in a little moonlight. There is no glass, just wooden shutters that keep out some of the wind. Not all of it. The room is chilly. Actually, chilly might be putting it kindly. Even wealthy knights often woke up feeling cold. Stone walls were excellent at stopping enemy attacks, but they were not very good at keeping warmth inside. During winter, the castle could feel like a giant stone refrigerator. You slowly open your eyes. Your bed is not what people today would call comfortable. The mattress is stuffed with straw, wool, or feathers if you are fortunate enough to afford them. It is softer than sleeping on the floor, which is nice, but it is still far from a modern mattress. No memory foam here. No heated blankets. No fluffy pillows shaped like clouds. Just straw and determination. You pull your blanket closer for a moment and listen. The castle is already waking up. Somewhere below, servants move through dark hallways carrying buckets and firewood. You hear distant footsteps echoing through the stone passages. A door opens. Another closes. The day is quietly beginning long before sunrise. This early start was normal in medieval life. Without electric lights, people followed the rhythm of the sun. Daylight was valuable. Every hour mattered. Whether you were a peasant working in a field or a knight managing land, sleeping late was usually not an option. Soon, a servant enters your chamber. He has likely been awake longer than you have. He greets you respectfully and begins preparing the room for the day. Perhaps he adds wood to a small fire. Maybe he brings water for washing. Perhaps he helps organize the clothing you will wear later. Life for a knight involved status, but it also involved assistance from many people. A nobleman's daily routine depended on servants, cooks, stable workers, guards, and dozens of others who kept the household running. While you are waking up, many of them have already been working for hours. You sit up slowly. The floor beneath your feet feels cold. Very cold. The sort of cold that makes you immediately miss your blanket. Outside, the first faint signs of dawn begin to appear. The black sky slowly turns dark blue. The world is still quiet, but not completely silent. A rooster crows somewhere in the distance. Perhaps another answers. The medieval version of a group chat has officially begun. As a knight, your day will be busy. There are lands to manage, people to meet, training to complete, and duties to perform. But before any of that happens, there is something even more important. Religion was woven into nearly every part of medieval life. For many knights, the first thoughts of the morning were directed toward God. People believed deeply that their lives, their victories, and even their survival depended upon divine favor. Before breakfast, before work, before anything else, prayer came first. You kneel beside your bed. The room remains quiet except for the crackling of a small fire nearby. You recite familiar prayers learned years ago. These words have been spoken countless times before by kings, queens, monks, peasants, and fellow knights throughout Europe. In the medieval world, faith was not simply a personal belief. It was the center of life itself. Many people genuinely believed that heaven and hell were very real destinations waiting after death. This belief shaped daily choices, habits, and routines. For a knight, this was especially important. Knights were warriors. Their profession involved violence. Battles, injuries, and sudden death were always possibilities. Beginning the day with prayer offered comfort, guidance, and perhaps a little hope that if something went terribly wrong later, things might still work out in the next life. Once your prayers are finished, you stand and stretch. The castle is becoming louder now. More servants are awake. The kitchens are active. Guards change positions on the walls. Stable workers begin caring for horses. The entire castle is slowly coming to life like a giant machine made of stone, wood, and people. You walk toward the narrow window. Outside, the horizon glows with the first light of morning. The village below is beginning to stir. Thin trails of smoke rise from cottages as families light cooking fires. Farmers prepare for another long day of labor. Children still sleep beneath wool blankets. Merchants think about the journeys ahead. Everyone has work to do. And so do you. As a knight, you are much more than a soldier. You are a landowner, a local leader, and part of a complicated social system that depends on duty and responsibility. Your choices affect many people who live on the lands under your control. The day ahead may bring meetings, training, disputes, hunting, travel, or even news of war. But for now, none of that has happened yet. For a brief moment, the castle stands between night and day. The sky grows brighter. The cold air carries the smell of wood smoke. The servants continue their work. The horses wait in the stables. And you, a medieval knight, have officially begun another ordinary day in a world that feels very different from our own. The sun is rising, and it is finally time to get dressed. The sun is now beginning to rise above the horizon. Golden light slips through the narrow castle window and stretches across the stone floor. The castle is fully awake. Fires burn in the kitchens. Guards patrol the walls. Servants hurry through hallways carrying baskets, tools, and messages. And now it is time for you to get dressed. This might not sound very exciting. After all, how much can there really be to say about putting on clothes? Well, if you are a medieval knight, quite a lot actually. Many people imagine knights walking around in shining armor all day long. Movies often show them eating dinner in armor, riding horses in armor, and sometimes looking as if they even sleep in armor. The reality was very different. A knight wore armor only when he truly needed it. Wearing full armor all day would have been uncomfortable, expensive, and rather unnecessary. It would be a bit like wearing a firefighter's suit while grocery shopping. Instead, most days began with ordinary clothing. Well, ordinary by medieval noble standards. First came the underclothes. You pull on a linen shirt. Linen was one of the most common fabrics in medieval Europe. It was lighter and more comfortable than wool, especially against the skin. The shirt is simple but practical. Nothing fancy. No designer logos. No inspirational quotes printed across the front. Just a shirt doing its job. Next come linen braids, a loose type of undergarment worn by men throughout much of the medieval period. They are comfortable enough for daily life and allow freedom of movement. Comfort mattered more than fashion in these layers. Above the linen comes wool. Lots of wool. Modern people often think of wool as something worn only during winter. Medieval people used it for almost everything. Wool was durable, warm, and widely available. A knight might wear a wool tunic that reaches down toward the knees. The color could vary depending on wealth, fashion, and local traditions. Bright colors were often expensive. Rich reds, deep blues, and vibrant greens required costly dyes. Wearing these colors could quietly announce to everyone around you that you possessed money and status. Even clothing acted as a social signal. A peasant and a knight could be standing side by side, and their clothing would instantly reveal their different places in society. As you finish dressing, a servant helps fasten your belt. Belts were surprisingly important. They held tools, pouches, knives, keys, and other useful items. In many ways, a medieval belt served the same purpose as several pockets. Since many garments had few pockets or none at all, the belt became an essential part of daily life. A small knife hangs from it. This is not a weapon meant for battle. It is a practical tool used for eating, cutting rope, opening packages, and countless other tasks. In medieval life, carrying a knife was completely normal. Think of it as the medieval version of carrying a multi-tool, although hopefully with fewer accidental injuries. Next come your boots. These are made of leather and carefully crafted by skilled workers. Good footwear is important because much of medieval life involves walking across rough ground, muddy roads, castle courtyards, and uneven terrain. There are no smooth sidewalks, no comfortable sneakers, And definitely no online reviews warning you about poor arch support. If your boots fail, your day becomes much more difficult. A cloak may be added depending on the weather. Castles could be drafty places. Even during warmer months, mornings often felt cool. A wool cloak provides warmth and also adds a certain noble appearance. A knight is expected to look respectable. Appearance matters. Not because of vanity alone, but because clothing reflects status, authority, and family identity. Speaking of family identity, many noble households displayed their colors and symbols proudly. These emblems helped people recognize important families and their allegiances. Long before modern logos and brands, noble families had coats of arms. A knight's identity was closely tied to these symbols. His family name carried weight. Its reputation could open doors, create alliances, or spark rivalries. As you prepare for the day, a servant may help comb your hair and tidy your appearance. Despite common myths, medieval people generally cared about cleanliness. They may not have had modern plumbing or daily hot showers, but they did wash. People cleaned their hands, faces, and bodies whenever possible. Nobles especially valued a neat appearance. Of course, cleanliness had its limits. Hot water required effort. Baths required preparation, and nobody had invented deodorant yet. So while medieval castles were cleaner than many people imagine, they were probably not winning any modern freshness awards. The smells of daily life were simply accepted as normal. Wood smoke, leather, animals, sweating workers, cooking food, the scent of medieval civilization. As your preparations continue, servants move around the room organizing the day's necessities. Messages may need to be delivered. Visitors may need to be received. Meetings may already be scheduled. Unlike the wandering adventurers of fantasy stories, real knights often lived highly structured lives filled with responsibilities. Many hours of the day would be spent managing people and property rather than swinging swords. That part surprises many modern audiences. The knight was not only a warrior, he was also an administrator, a landlord, a judge, a leader. The sword might symbolize his position, but much of his time was spent handling practical matters. At last, you are fully dressed. The cold morning air no longer feels quite so sharp. The castle around you continues to buzz with activity. Sunlight now spills into courtyards below. Stable workers lead horses from their stalls. Servants carry fresh water through narrow hallways. Guards exchange greetings as they begin another day of watch duty. You take one final look around your chamber. The bed where you slept now sits empty. The blankets have been straightened. The fire burns quietly. Outside, the world is fully awake. Your clothing is in place. Your duties are waiting. And before breakfast can begin, there is one more important stop in the knight's morning routine: the castle chapel. Because in the medieval world, no day truly started until prayer had been offered before God.